Hello Tasmanian growers. Most of you already know me. I am Judy Ducati and I'm the Technology Development Specialist for onions for Australia and New Zealand. And I'm here to talk about the results of the big trial that we had in Queensland in Tasmania last season. A lot of you guys had the chance to visit the trial that we had. And we just want to present which onions perform the best in each month of the sowing, and so that hopefully it will help you guys to plan your calendar for this coming season. Well, just a quick look in the onion map of Australia. Tasmania is of course one of the biggest producers of the country, and we feel that it does deserve special attention when it comes to trial work and on understanding onion varieties in there. So that's why the last year, actually in the last few years, we've been putting a lot of effort in doing a trial work to fully understand the window of our varieties in Tasmania. And the biggest highlight, of course, was the biggest trial that we had last year, probably one of the biggest that the Tasmanian onion industry has seen, and which was actually quite a great success. We were very happy with those results. So for those who had a chance to visit the trial, I have a trial map that shows pretty much what we tried to do, which was getting our most promising varieties and sow them in different months of the year, starting in May but going all the way into late October, to really see the flexibility of sowing window of each variety. So we try to push all of our varieties out of the comfort zone, sowing a little bit earlier and a little bit later, to see how they would react to the environmental conditions. When you push too early, of course, the varieties will tend to bolt if it's too cold, and when you push too late, sometimes they come down, the tops come down a little bit too early, and the varieties struggle to make size. The bulbs don't really make size. That's the very best way to find the ideal sowing slot. And of course, doing in a trial with which plot of a few meters, like in our case was a 20 meters plot per variety, per sowing, it does give you a good idea, a good indication of the ideal sowing slot. So, quickly having a look on the results, the first highlight that we had, especially in the first sowing, which was around May, was a variety named Currawong. Currawong is a variety that we launched in New Zealand last year, and we are pushing now large-scale trials in Tasmania. The best thing about Currawong is actually its earliness. When you sow Currawong from mid-May onwards until early June, you will have an excellent crop with very firm bulbs, nice color, perfect curing, nice tops. And the best thing of Currawong is actually its maturity time, because it will allow you to harvest around Christmas time. We know that harvest is a little bit tricky for some Tasmanian growers. There is demand for onions from Tasmania, onions in that slot. Most of the varieties are a little bit slower than that. Currawong does deliver that maturity and the readiness to harvest around Christmas precisely. So it's a variety that we are recommending growers to push this coming sowing month of May. Having a quick look on the calendar of Currawong, and you see that it's very similar to our older variety Ioba, which used to be commercialized in Tasmania. So ideally we are talking about Currawong being sowing from mid-May onwards. Sowing earlier than that, there's a risk of bolting, so we're not recommending to do any sowings earlier than mid-May. And then you can push Currawong into the first week of June. After that, Currawong still works quite nicely, but we believe there's varieties that some of our varieties will perform a little bit better than Currawong in that June slot. Currawong, I think the message that I wanna tell you guys, and I would like you to remember, is actually the ideal slot. Sowing in May, harvesting Christmas. I think that's quite valuable, and that really adds value to Currawong, of course. Another variety that I like to mention that was a highlight in the trial, it was Corimako. Korimako did extremely well in the June sowing. Korimako is probably one of the varieties with best storage in the market. It's actually a very rock hard onion. It has a cream gold color, and if you are willing to export, for instance, and you need that very long storage, I'm talking more than 7-8 months in storage, and actually excellent storage quality, Korimako is a variety that you should consider sowing. Korimako window, the very best was pretty much the month of June, so all over June, and the tops down date, the maturity time, is normally just after New Year. Again, a little bit slower than the Paris variety that I was talking about, Korawong, but again, it has other attributes, other features, and again, the storage is a great attribute of Korimako. Sowings later than late June, variety still performs nicely, but we also have some varieties that will perform better in that July sowing that we're going to talk a little bit later. Another variety that I think deserves some attention is Harrier. It's a variety that we also just launched in the New Zealand market. And Harrier probably has the best bolting resistance in the market. So it's a variety that we are still waiting to see bolt. We haven't seen many bolts of this variety at all, regardless when you sow it. So Harrier is a variety that if you are willing to sow very early, so let's say if you want to push your boundaries and sow, let's say in April, it's a variety that we recommend sowing because we have quite confidence that it will not bolt. Saying that, even if you do sow a Harrier earlier, I need to mention that the maturity time will come just after New Year as well. So if you try to push Harrier earlier to avoid bolting, that's fine, but don't think that if you just push earlier, the tops down will come earlier, because it won't. Saying that, it's a beautiful variety, it's firm, has a nice cream gold color, and it has been actually a great success in New Zealand. We are actually looking forward to push more demand generation trials, larger trials of this variety in Tasmania, and yeah, we hope you enjoy the results as well. So having a look in the calendar of Harrier, again, we have an ideal slot which is similar to the first variety that I was talking about, Korimako. So it's a perfect variety to sow in June and harvest in early January. But again, because of its strong, probably the very best bolting resistance in the market, you definitely can sow it much earlier than that. Okay, so it does really give you some flexibility when it comes to sowing time. Just a quick idea to compare maturity times of our varieties. You have our Korawong and our Old Ayoba being the first ones to mature. A few days late, you have all those varieties that the typical market standards for the Tasmanian market, so all those OPOKs. And probably a week or so later, you have Korimako and Harrier getting mature as well. So that gives an idea of maturity time of our varieties. That's what we observed last season in Tasmania. When you enter in the main results, July sowings, one variety that was a highlight was 8265, and one thing that I quite like in 8265 is actually its color. It has beautiful dark brown color with very nice tops, with very nice shape, with very nice uniformity. So it ticks a lot of the boxes, and ideal sowing slot is July, as we're gonna see. Anything earlier than July, you may risk bolting, so we do not recommend for instance, in June. If you want to push in June, just be careful when you do your trial work. We recommend it like July onwards. Until probably early August, you have good results, okay? Harvest of 8265, it's more towards late January, early February, and that's when you can expect that the tops will come down and the crop will be ready to harvest. Another variety that I would like to talk about, and which was a highlight in the trial, is 1958. 1958 actually 1958 is actually the brother of 8265, which is the variety that I was just talking about. And the attributes of 1958 is actually quite similar to 8265. So both have very nice colors, very good tops, very good uniformity and shape, and they both have the same window as well. So that July sowing towards early August for a February harvest. All right. Once you pass the early August mark, we have other varieties that will fit that slot. So we recommend stopping both 8265 and 19580 in early August. Rangaro is the last main season variety that I want to talk about, and actually the results were quite impressive. Rangaro is a variety that we had launched in Australia a few years ago, and that we concentrate trials and commercial efforts in South Australia. And now we are pushing the variety into the Tasmania market, and we were actually very pleased with the results and the adaptability of the variety. Rangaro, being a storage onion, is actually very firm, develops a beautiful dark color, beautiful tops, and great shape and size and uniformity. Rangaro is slightly slower than the two previous varieties that I was talking about, 8265 and 19580. And you can sow you have to sow it a little bit later, more towards mid-July, late July, but you can push it early into August, into the first 2 weeks of August. Harvest time of Rangaro, based on the trial that we had in Tasmania, it's more towards late February. Again, just to compare our maturities with some commercial standards that growers in Tasmania are very familiar. 19580 and 8265 will have very similar maturity as the commercial standard Remu. Rangaro is a little bit slower. You can add 4 to 5 days after that, if you wanted to compare. And then you have Manuka, which is another market standard, which is a few days later than Rangaro. Finally, talking about the late sowing, and definitely the best variety we had was Shrike. I think some of the growers have tried Shrike in Tasmania in the last few years with actually very good results. So the trial that we did this year pretty much confirmed the information that we had from previous trial work that we've done in previous years. Terrific variety for sowing in September. Incredible color. It's a very uniform bulb. Extremely good storage. I'm talking about 8 months plus. Nice tops. Size. It ticks pretty much all the boxes. And the interesting thing about Shrike that we did this year was, again, we created a sowing month that normally growers in Tasmania don't grow, which is late October. We create that sowing October because we are aware of the weather conditions in Tasmania, and sometimes due to the rains, sowings keep getting delayed. And once in a blue moon, growers may have to push varieties into October. So we try our genetics in that October month just to be sure that our varieties will perform and be confident to talk to growers that about the results. And Shrike did incredibly well all the way into late October, almost November. So we were actually very pleased and very impressed with the variety and Shrike in even very late slots. So having a look in Shrike calendar, again, ideally we are talking about September, but based on the data that we have this year, again, you can easily push it later and still have a good crop and have a good results. So guys, to summarize, I think it gets quite evident that with our pipeline and the efforts that we've been putting in the onion and our onion research, it gets very clear that we managed to develop a pipeline that's quite healthy and fits pretty much all the windows from April all the way into October. So for each month, we have a variety that may suit your needs. Again, if you have any questions or any doubts about our varieties and their sowing time and their features, contact our team. Carlos Ramirez in Tasmania is our sales rep. Thank you.